Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
There's no picture.
There's no picture on the back of this box, which is driving Sam nuts. When you look at Attack the Darkness, it looks like it came from 1970.
Yeah, I did.
This is one of those games, you're probably looking, oh, I've seen that in a thrift store somewhere. No, this came out in 2013.
It's a brand new game.
It's a Kickstarter game. And with,
less than stellar artwork.
but the name, Attack the Darkness.
Attack the Darkness.
It makes you think of the skit, you know, I'm attacking the darkness. Okay, this is a cooperative dungeon crawl style game. Well, I'll show you. The first thing you do in this game is you pick your character. Each player who's playing will pick a character, so you can pick the Inquisitor, or the Magician, or the Scion, or the Assassin, or the Champion, or the Templar, or the Samurai. Each of these guys comes with a little counter which will represent them in a plastic stand. And these guys have a couple of resources that they need. There's focus, stamina, and mana are your different types of resources in the game. Some of them have only one. They also have a core card, I'll talk about that in just a moment, that they have to have. And then they have a special ability they can use once per dungeon. They have a speed. Every turn they can move that speed, and then they have hit points. They also have a quote on there and a picture. This is a lot of cards. A lot of cards, all right? And at the beginning of the game, each player is going to make a deck of each of these cards. You have your resource deck and you have your action deck. Now, your resource deck is going to be different cards here. For example, this is going to provide you with one focus resource. However, it also might have other special abilities on it. This can only be used by A. What that means is only the assassin can use that. So as you're picking these cards, you can only pick cards that have your letter on the bottom of them. Now, as I said, each character has core cards that they have to include for their class. So, for example, here, the Samurai has a core card, Discipline. So all the Discipline cards you have to add in. So there's a discipline, there's a discipline. This Zen I don't have to take, but I can because it has the samurai symbol on here. And so this one here is used by the mage. This one here has I am on, so it can be used by the Inquisitor or the Magician. So you look at all the, sometimes like here, Imp, the curse can be used by 3 different characters. And there are occasionally cards that will say impact on them. So you're making 2 decks. So you also have an action deck that you'll be making. So this is a card that, again, only the Magician can use. Siphoning, this is something that he needs to do, and it has a cost. And this cost is up here, and this is going to be a cost of mana because it's blue. And so this is an attack. Targets one enemy and recovers another target who's one ally, and it will do X damage. So however many mana resource cards you play with it, it will do that much damage. While this one here, used by the same guy, is free and does 2 damage. While this one here, which is used by the Templar, you can see cost 4. And since it's purple, that means it can use either stamina or mana, since they are red and blue, making purple. That a green card can use yellow or blue, an orange card can use red or yellow. Sometimes they cost extra cards. For example, this Faith here would cost 1 of 2 different resources. And so there's all different cards, and you really will probably take a long time as the game starts out picking them. There's many cards that even have the word impacts. Isn't that cute? that can be used by anybody. Anybody can use a maneuver where you can make an extra maneuver, an extra movement at double speed. And so you're going to be trying to go through this deck thinking of cards that are useful, that will help you as the time goes by. And there's plenty of cards to build a deck, and the rule book comes with decks that you can build if you can't decide. When you go on an adventure, it may be made up of one or more rooms. Each room will be set up by randomly drawing cards from the deck and putting them according to however the scenario is set up. Let's say maybe a scenario is set up like this. So here's a room here that you're putting together with these different cards. You then will fill up the scenario, and the scenario is based on, again, it will have a certain number of threat points. So you'll start turning these cards over. And this, for example, says demon. And the scenario is a certain level, I'm sorry, not threat points, but of danger. So let's say the danger number in this scenario here is 20. Well, this demon is 8 of those 20. And I'm going to bring one demon out. So I will look through all the different tiles and look for that demon. These tiles are also double as hit points that you'll put on creatures and characters as they take hits. But you'll look for that demon amongst the different characters who are here, and once you find the demon, you will then place him, or place whatever monster it is, in the farthest point away from where the adventurers are going to start. The next monster would go here, 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 and then they would start being put next to those. Sometimes, let's see, here's a walking bomb card. This would be danger of 6. So remember I said the danger number was 20, so that's 6 plus 8, 14. And then the next one I draw is a vampire. That brings us up to 22, and that's it. Only 3 monsters in this area, but those are 3 very powerful monsters. It's possible, like with these imps, that 5 of them will come out when this card, and that's only a danger of 4. That's because imps are much less deadly. And so you will continue to do this, and then basically the characters all will take actions. They'll have 3 cards from each deck in their hand, and you will play the resource cards. And one of the things that I should mention out between these resource cards and the action cards is you could put different cards together, and like this mana can launch this, and it also makes like a word. This is a sacrificial quell, and so you have all sorts of things that you can do. Maybe I'm going to do a concuss here, and so what adjectives can I put with that one? That's one that can be used by 2 different characters, so maybe it's a blessed concuss. Anyway, I just thought that. So you play these together. You can play multiple of these cards with this. And so, for example, this targets an enemy, does 3 damage, stuns him for 2 rounds. This one, though, can only be used on a non-attack, so I guess I can't do a blessed concuss, so that's not very useful. But there's different things that you can add, and it will do extra bonus damage, and combinations of the cards can do things. So players will take their actions, then the bad guys will take their actions. So maybe here, let's see, where the enemy would be this Chesserak here. So we look at him. He attacks the lowest hit point enemy that's available in melee. Otherwise, he will then move towards the lowest hit point enemy if outside melee, and then he tries to end his turn in melee if possible. They also have a certain number of hit points. They have a maneuver ability that he moves 5. When you attack him, his defense, there's a chance if the attack is 3, or if you're 3 or farther away, then he will subtract 1 from all attacks made against him. So that's basically it. You'll fight the monsters, they fight you. Eventually you kill them all, hopefully. And if you do so, you can then search for treasure. You do that by turning a card over. Hopefully it's not a monster, because that's not treasure. But you turn over each of the cards, and if you find a treasure, then you get to keep it and use it in the future rooms that you go into. If you run out of treasure, because there's usually 1 room per character, you're allowed to search for treasure in a deck, but any monster that you find, as I'm looking for treasure in deck, well, I'm getting pretty lucky here, but any monster you find is added to the next room, and his danger number is halved for that room. There's also a small deck of cards, advancement cards, that you can get as time goes by that you can give yourself to give yourself extra special abilities. And then once you get through the whole scenario, you've won that game. All right.
The fun and challenge of a tabletop game. Setup and breakdown of a card game. Learn to play by playing no 200-page rule books.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Thousands of possible play combinations. A deep yet simple combat system.
It cracked me up about the 200-page rule books. I don't know almost any game with... I know 2 games exactly with the 200-page rule book. Star Trek Fleet Battles and ASL.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons you can learn to play after the first 50 pages.
Yeah.
But anyhow, okay. So I'm going to actually say, as we get into this, I did not dislike this game. I thought I was going to.
Yeah. We mocked and scorned this game before we actually played it.
And there's still parts of it we're going to mock, so let's get into that. Artwork.
Oh my word.
I'm sorry. And it's not just the artwork, the graphic design too.
Yeah.
Here's what we didn't put this in our top 10 things that publishers do that annoy us, but I should have. Never put things that you possibly need in a scenario on two different sides of the same tile. So if I'm using hit points to mark my character, and then we need to bring out a zombie, and we're like, where's the zombie? All right, everyone look at all the hit points in your card, see which one has a zombie
He's underneath the golem.
And the whole thing has this whole... I know some people like this whole gothic, dark... All the monsters, they're hard to tell apart. They don't look like, I'm looking at them, they look like little black blobs all over the board.
Yeah, that's the main problem. They don't really look like what they're supposed to be. And it's really the gothic grotesqueness aside, I need a zombie that looks like a zombie so that I can tell that it's a zombie apart from a goblin or, whatever else we're fighting. They just need to look like what they're supposed to be, and we had a hard time with that.
Now, the thing I liked the most about this game was not even playing the game. It was building the decks. And then after playing the game, you're like, oh, that's what all those cards do.
Yeah.
Let me build the deck differently. But building the decks is pretty cool because it lets you give yourself that customized deck for your character. And I thought the characters were differentiated enough.
I guess so. I would have trouble spending money on a game. Well, okay, I'm past. Let me put it that way. I'm past spending money on a game that I then have to work at building my deck for.
Well, this is where we did. I mean, I just love building decks.
I know he loves that. I'd rather just go buy that starter deck that can compete with somebody.
Well, it has starting decks in here.
I understand that, but to really get a cool, good, character-specific deck, you really do have to put some thought into it, some time. It's not that I don't like putting thought into my games. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, I don't know. I'd like the designers, since I'm giving, the designers, the companies, you guys do that work. Put together a good deck for me, and I'll give you my money for the game, and then I'll use the deck that you made for me, and I'll enjoy it, or not.
Did you like the deterministic combat?
It was okay. Yeah.
You rather roll dice?
Yeah, I would, I think. I mean... It almost gets to be a little bit too puzzly to where the one guy can have all those calculations in his head. You do this, I'll do this, and then and that guy
would that be the Inquistador? Anyhow,
spell check.
But
designers spell check.
Now I have not played it with 8 players, and I would not play it with 8 players because games like this should not be played with 8 players. I think the game itself has some really neat ideas. The idea of flipping a room over to see if there's treasure underneath it. Mm-hmm. The monsters moving and how they attack, that's cool, though it's not unique. It was first done in Wrath of Shardlan and Castle Ravenloft, the one from Wizard, and that one had miniatures.
Yeah.
And it did pretty much the same thing.
Right.
Even the new Myth game has that same program movement. So it's not unique to this. So here's the deal. This game... What's unique about it? Well, that building your own deck and using resources and stuff, that's cool. You can pull off some cool combos.
Yeah, but you can't really say that's unique, though, because so many games have already done that, where you build your own, you customize your own deck.
Wait, are we tilting negative on this? I'm starting to feel that way.
Well, I am, kind of. I mean, it's not that I hated the game.
You're right.
My thing is, it didn't bring anything... There was no wow factor in the game. It was all just kind of, okay, it's another Dungeon Explorer game.
You're right. And you know what? That's the thing, though. That's what I said. If this game had a much different presentation, I think I would have been all over it.
Yeah, maybe.
If some of the cards, like Fireball, had a picture of a fireball on the card, that would have just helped there. The cards were like blank text all over the place.
Such a novel idea.
Well... I mean, and our characters were these little counters moving around. And
it's the little cardboard thing. You stick it in the plastic thing and you move it around the board.
And I can tell you right now, some people would be like, well, that's charming. Not in 2014. Not in 2014.
Yeah, it's $2.50 in your thrift store charming. It's not $40 off the shelf charming.
As a kid, I would have played the snot out of this. I know I would have.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think we're at the point now where there's just much better dungeon crawls.
Right.
I mean, this is going to be really compared to Wrath of the Shardline, I think, and Castle Ravenloft. And those games are superior.
Yeah.
You also have Descent, you have Myth, you have Super Dungeon Explorer, all those games with miniatures and cool stuff. So if you're not going to have miniatures in your game, and I'm not saying you have to,
No, but
then it better look good and play good.
Your game and your mechanics need to be
All right.
stellar.
Well, it started off more positive than it's ending.
I mean, again, it's not. I think, like you were saying, we've moved past. We've moved past this style of game. So it's not that it's a bad game per se. It just doesn't. It just doesn't have the wow factor that everybody else is coming up
All right, well, I'm giving it a shaky thumb up that you think is a thumb up, but it's kind of black and distorted, and so it's hard to tell from a distance.
Zombie thumb. Okay. I'm going to give it one skeleton thumb up that's like barely hanging on by a piece of rotted sinew or ligaments, and it's just like it
That's going to be the quote on the back of the box.
It might be falling off, but it's still there for right now. I mean, we enjoyed playing the game, but not enough.
Does come with 600 cards.
Didn't hate it. Did not love it. I'm just in the middle there.
All right. I do think that it's probably best if someone plays the bad guys, I suppose, but it's not as interesting for that person. Anyway, so that's Attack the Darkness.
Attack the Darkness.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.